Hello and welcome to The Bleed, the place between realities within the DC universe. Through The Bleed, we can venture to other worlds and realities that are different from the main DC continuity.
Today on Into the Bleed, we're continuing Superman's early adventures against Metallo, Brainiac, and Lex Luthor with Action Comics issue 3 by Grant Morrison, Rags Morales, Rick Bryant, and Sean Parsons. Collector of Worlds has arrived on Earth, taking over the body of John Corbin and his Steel Soldier project. Metropolis falls into chaos because of the Terminauts appearing in the streets, and Lex, ever the coward, flees from John, whose alien consciousness demands Lex give him the Superman since they had a deal in place for his safety in exchange for the hero. Morrison has done a great job ramping up tension and into the action over these last couple of issues. We aren't jumping right into the middle of everything here, we're kind of ramping up because this is going to be a lot of people's first Superman story, a lot of people's first Action Comics or DC Comics. You got to kind of, draw them in a little bit. The slow build up to Brainiac reveal here towards the end of this issue, and I really like it. It's utilizing Metallo in an interesting way too, since usually he's the puppet for someone else when he first shows up, be it government who's built him to try and stop Superman, or be a deterrent to Superman or other aliens. But in this case, it's Brainiac, a character he seldom interacts with, which is something that I've found much more interesting than I did when I first read this book so long ago. It's such a unique sort of combination of villains that you never see. There's also a sadness to it too, since John is really only thinking that he's doing the right thing, and he's also trying to do this because he's trying to prove to Lois that he too is a Superman. He's kind of finds himself emasculated by Superman showing up and being able to leap tall buildings in a single bound and be faster than a locomotive, and Lois is like enamored by that, whereas he's just a normal guy and he's been pining after Lois for a very long time. So he thinks that this is the way that he's going to finally win Lois over, and that's just really sad. At the Factory of Tomorrow, Clark Kent, Lois Lane, and Jimmy Olsen are now surrounded by an army of Terminauts, who announce that ahead of the planetary destruction, they will preserve all significant artifacts on Earth. Clark tells the others to run, taking off and leaving Lois, Jimmy, and Mr. Tide on their own. As the news reports on the robots wreaking havoc, John Henry Irons decides it's time for him to act, activating his own mechanic suit to combat the Terminauts and help where Superman cannot. So I'm of two minds of John Henry already being somewhat a costumed hero here. First, I said last issue that it's strange we're getting him so early in Superman's career, since I and many other people would often associate him with stories like Death of Superman, Reign of the Superman arcs, because that is where he first debuted as Steel. On the other hand though, Morrison divorcing him from that story so much, making John Henry his own man who's taking it upon himself to stand up for the people in his own agency, is so good. It's giving him more agency in the story. He's not just totally reliant on Superman saving him that one time that kind of flicks that thing on in his mind that he wants to be like Superman. Superman, meanwhile, fights some of the Terminauts outside of the Factory of Tomorrow. He's suddenly surrounded by police, and he warns them to either cuff him or let him save the city as more giant mechanical monsters burst from the burning factory, one of which grabs a nearby tank, using it as its head so it can blast Superman back, identifying him as the Kryptonian who must be collected. A little thing I like about Clark having the simple shirt and jeans look when we first see him is the neat variance we get of the costume, being that he does not have an endless supply of blue shirts. He's gets some white ones, there's even some red ones a little later on, and there's actually a story coming up in an issue that details how he gets them, because he gets them printed up at a printing shop, and that might end up leading to someone finding out his identity, but we'll get to that. But I really like seeing that, it's not just some comic booky logic where like, oh, he'll just always have the same blue shirt and no matter how damaged it gets, it's suddenly fixed in the next issue or something. There's an actual thought gone into this by Morrison where they have thought about, oh, Clark is just going to go through all these different shirts and they're going to be different colors too, and I kind of like that. We have that white one and a red one. I think there's a yellow one at some point as well, I'm not too sure, but it's just cool. It adds a little bit of variety. Lois and Jimmy meanwhile realize that the people of Metropolis don't appear to be the targets of the Terminauts at all, as this, they are all after Superman and what they deem to be significant artifacts, like the various things they steal from Metropolis's museums. As they try and leave town, John Corbin, now fully taken over by the alien consciousness, confronts them, showing Lois, the woman that John had loved years, that now he is a real Superman. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I love this Metallo design. It's so simple, yet weird and very Frankenstein monster-like. I also really like that it's not totally the Terminator Metallo that we usually get either, not yet at least. He's still very much a human man because it is him in a suit, but I also like that it's been designed in a way to sort of hint that, oh, maybe he is just a human head on a robot body, and the head being the only human thing you can see is just like a signpost for him, like that's all that's left of his humanity. Lois tries to calm John down after recognizing him, but the alien intelligence infecting the suit is preventing him from thinking clearly, constantly trying to take over his thoughts and movements. As Superman finishes with the giant robot from the Factory of Tomorrow, Lois attempts to break the conditioning on John's mind, reminding him of a story about how they went to Maui and John found out that he's allergic to spam. Stories don't seem to work and Brainiac returns to the man's mind, telling them that while Lois broke John's heart, he no longer has a heart to break. He demands to know where Superman is and the hero turns up, attacking John, but the enhanced battle suit he wears absorbs the blow from the Man of Steel thanks to Metal Zero, metal the suit is gated out of. Superman is outmatched and he is thrown into a nearby bridge where Luthor and the military are trying to make their escape into New Troy. So there's a really cool thing here that I never really considered, and that is the parallels between Metallo and Brainiac, as Metallo was made as an anti-Superman weapon, destroys Superman, and Brainiac effectively wants that well, since he's a leftover of a race he has already collected, so he is a loose end. He wants to take Superman, I guess study him, and then just like be done with him because he is not needed anymore. He is just a loose end to something that already does not exist anymore thanks to Brainiac. It's just another really interesting connection between these two villains I never would have put together. As the fight continues, Lex notices something is coming for them as a green shield begins enveloping the area around them, prompting him to tell his escort to get off bridge. As the truck crashes off the end of the bridge, Lex tries to contact his benefactor, demanding to know if this is his doing and that they had an agreement, but it's too late as the entire New Troy neighborhood has been bottled. On the other side of the bridge outside the bottle, Superman is left at the mercy of Metallo, but Steel, along with his trusty sledgehammer, arrives, smashing Metallo back. Luckily, John Henry designed the Steel Soldier warsuit so that he knows how to properly take it apart, telling Superman to leave this to him. As Steel leads Metallo away from Superman, Brainiac contacts the people in the bottled city of Troy, telling them that they have been preserved for all time and in 1 hour, the preservation process will be complete and they will not be able to be reversed. Here is where we also get our first look at Brainiac, or at least one of his bodies, and it is fittingly creepy. It's like this big caterpillar bug-like form with a giant green brain. It's a fantastic look, and he has a couple of different forms throughout this series. Superman meanwhile can hear the bottled city, knowing the people inside, including Lois and Jimmy, are alive and safe, at least for now. Sam Lane knows that his daughter is in there and he asks the hero if he can save her, and luckily for the general, Superman has an idea, but he's going to need some help. The book doesn't actually end there, as for the first of the new 52 books, this one actually has a backup in it, and this issue's backup focuses on John Henry Irons, pretty much showing us the events of the Metallo fight at the end of the issue here from his point of view. The story, written by Shirley Fish and drawn by Brad Walker, perfectly sets out John Henry's motivations and also explores his heroes, like Richard Fenneman, a Nobel-winning physicist who helped the Manhattan Project and discovered what happened with the Challenger disaster. Following Feynman's lead in serving his country and world, John Henry creates Metal Zero, the element used in the Steel Soldier warsuits, which he wanted to use in alien invasions should and when they happen, as a form of deterrent for that, as well as something just to protect people and help them. However, with Lex Luthor getting involved in the project, it was corrupted and the project was turned into a weapon of war. In the present, we see John Henry aid Superman against Metallo, wanting to dismantle the suit he once created himself. John Henry's monologue through this part is great, since it dives into the origin of his name, since he is named after the legendary John Henry, man from American folklore, who also had the name the Steel Driving Man. John really hated this name when he was growing up, since he was constantly taunted about it, but then he understood why he was given this name by his parents, since they wanted him to be just like John Henry and never back down from a challenge. Most of the backup is just big fight with Metallo, with John only just holding his own against the Brainiac-controlled villain, since Brainiac consciousness can actually move the suit a bit better than John would have on his own. The tide of the battle changes when Metallo grabs Steel and begins crushing him, causing his armor to begin to crack. This is all part of John Henry's plan though, since while they were fighting, he accessed Metallo's computer systems via the USB port on the armor, a failsafe he actually built into it in case something like this happened and the armor got out of control. And because of that, he was able to upload a virus into the armor, locking it in place. The USB port on the armor is kind of a little silly, but I kinda like that it's fittingly schlocky for two big guys in big steel armors fighting on a bridge. With the armor disabled, Steel charges his hammer and smashes Metallo, causing his body to explode as he proclaims that he not just is a man, but he's a steel-driving man. Before John Henry can properly deactivate Metallo's leftover bits though, the being says that the world now belongs to him and he's teleported away to Brainiac's ship in orbit, leaving Steel to wonder how he's going to get up there to help out Superman. Action Comics issue 4 really ramped up Morrison's story here, and now we're kind of like in the big leagues. Superman's dealing with a big world-ending threat now with Brainiac, and we've kind of jumped from chasing crooks to battling interstellar travelers. I kind of like that jump as well, and I also like that it doesn't make Morrison just immediately change everything. They still manage to keep focus on the quote-unquote human aspects of a lot of these characters. I like the dynamic they're doing with Metallo and Brainiac as well. The parallels that they are drawing as well between these characters is something I've never even thought about. Even reading this book back when I did, and now reading it with like fresh new eyes after a while, I'm seeing all of these really cool parallels between Brainiac and Metallo and how they are very similar in their goals and what they want, and how they both want to kill Superman. And Metallo is just a tragic character as well, and Morrison writes him as a tragic character, a man kind of caught up in his own hubris, which is really damn cool and a bit more than what Metallo usually gets. Tell me in the comments what you thought about this issue, and join me next week as we dive into the secret origins of the New 52 Superman.